Alright, so here we go. We're going to start on our dummy that we were working on yesterday. We'll just do an arm today. Just an arm. Just one limb. That's all. Just one limb. Let's open up our Blender file that we saved in the folder yesterday. So this is where we stopped, and so we can hide some of this stuff for now until we get the arm situated. So when I named this, I named the head A, I named the body B. So what I was going to do is do the upper arm and lower arm like as, well, you know what, I'll probably just do one arm at a time and then go back later and make it into sections. I don't know if that's going to make, it probably will make more work later. I'd rather just try to get as much of this done and then make it better as time goes on. So it'll be at least something. The only thing is, it's not probably going to... The thing is, how do you really make this bend? You can't really make this bend without cutting it. That's the thing. I mean, it'll dangle from where you attach it to, but it's just going to be like a big stick hanging out the side of the body, flailing around. It's not going to bend anywhere. That's the only thing. But let's just do one arm this way, and then maybe the other arm I'll do differently, so you can see the difference that it makes. So just to make something just to contain that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same size. If the thing's not going to bend, I mean, you can just use like a solid object, like something the shape of like a rectangle box, which is probably what I'll do. Is I make a mesh cube, and scale it. And now this is where you got to kind of look at the other body part and see how you're going to connect it. But I mean, I remembered from yesterday how I purposely left a vertice there so I could hook it to. And I'll probably have to hinge part of the arm to like part of these parts too. And I'll add like a loop cut here. Maybe one here. And this is proportional editing. This is so if you move something, you can determine how much other stuff around it moves. It's good for doing little things like this. And you also got your transparency you can turn on and off to see what is oh, I didn't mean to turn that off. Like, where's all my stuff go? My little dots and vertices. Turn proportional editing off now, that way it doesn't affect. How I can kind of just, get this thing moved around and stuff. Now there is a way to make what you do mirror to the other side. I have not ever messed with that in Blender. It's something like I looked into and I never did follow through with learning how to do it. But it makes stuff like this easier. But in this particular case, all I'm going to do is mirror this to the other side. Just have to remember when you mirror things that you flip the normals in most cases, and you won't know that until you apply all transforms and check it. Check it by going up to, here are the face normals, face orientation, which they're all correct now. Let's see here. Remember too, when you're making these J-beams for things, you got to kind of remember, what you're going to be attaching these vertices to, because they're not going to just magically stay there. You got to attach them. So when you're planning this kind of thing and you're looking at the other J-beam you made, you got to say, oh, okay, well, there's a vertice there, there's a vertice here. So how am I going to connect these once I get it into the game? So that's what you kind of also are looking at when you're looking at this. You're like, how am I going to line these things up? Maybe I should exaggerate this by moving it up just a little bit more so that when I get to the time to connect it, say, well, this vertex is very close to this vertex. There won't be any slack in the line to say there won't be any loose line where it's dangling more than what it should. Then you have to use pre-compression to make it pull tighter, and then that's a problem if you got things you don't want to. Pre-compression is great, but it can also cause you a lot of issues. Pre-compression, you think of a rope. You either let slack out of the line or you're pulling it tighter. Like these beams that connect things, you can basically pull them tighter than normal or have them relax more than normal. In this case, I'm going to get these really close. Zoom up real close, so they're pretty close. You don't want to get too damn close, then they'll start fighting for damn same spot. That's why I usually turn off self collisions. Which even the dummy, I don't know about Crash Hard's dummy, but I know like the other dummy, self collisions, I believe, are by default. I'm pretty sure they're off, because it causes more computations, whatever you call it. It makes your damn computer work harder trying to figure out everything that's supposed to collide with everything and not collide and all that stuff. But you can see how doing it like this, then later going back, would create more work for you to do. Basically, because you're already doing all this work to get this thing, situated. And you're going to need to be doing more work later if you want to go back and cut it and have two different parts. So, better to probably just cut the arm and do it all the first time. Be done with it. But since this is a tutorial, I am going to do it two different ways. I'll be fine. That's good enough. Good enough. Good enough. So this arm, will be C, and its J-beam, I'll name it CC. And then I don't forget to tell the node prefix to be C. So when it exports these boxes as J-beams, they have the little letter C in front of the node numbers. We can separate them from the others. If you don't, then everything will have the same damn numbers, and that ain't gonna work. Because just like the head and the body, these are numbered too. They start at like 0. These little vertices. Alright, so we'll save our file here. Sometimes I'll just make a new save as I do more. That way if I have to go back before I did something that maybe that was critical and maybe not returnable from, I can fix it. I hit A to select all, and then we'll use this here. Actually, let me set the origin to the 3D cursor because I forgot to do that. Apply all transforms. I'll do the same thing with the arm. It may already be set, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. Remember, if all your stuff isn't set to the same origin, it's not going to match up. Alright, so edit mode, select all, mesh, J-beam, nodes connector. Now that's reinforced pretty good. And then we triangulate all faces. If you don't, you'll get an error if it's got n-gons. It'll tell you down there in red, this has n-gons. You can't export it. So now we export the J-beam for the arm, which I named CC. Now we export the model now, which, oh, you don't have to hide this stuff to do this. I'm just doing it to make it easier to see what's going on. So since the head and the body and now this arm will be part of the mod. Oh yeah, I gotta name that. Wait a minute. How did that damn change? That was B. How did that change to the, I don't know. I ain't worrying about it. That's B, that's A, and that's C. That's all that matters. And these three things are getting exported now as DAE, and they're going to overwrite the DAE that's in there now. And I'll say selection only because all this other stuff is not ready to go, and some of this is for J-beams. It's not for the model itself. So off it goes. Now we have to just simply load the exported J-beam and the old J-beam of the model that's the work in progress and add the two together. J-beam exported. CC is the new one here. This is probably all stuff from yesterday. I'm just going to delete it and just not delete it, close it rather, and reload it. So you never know, you may have. That's why I say don't work out of two different places. Don't have like a desktop folder and a folder in your vehicles and a folder in your mod folder. That shit all gets confusing after a while and you'll be saving to the wrong one. I've done it many times. See, that's the letter C that I added here in the node prefix. Well, that's not the body parts. I'm talking about like this J-beam for this arm. See, this got a node prefix of C. See, so C is there. Now R and L, or what you'll see following that, that means right or left. Basically, depending on where the orientation is, whether it's the left side, the right side, or maybe that's the left, that's the right. I can never remember. But basically, that's what determines what the node, the second letter is. But you don't have to know which one's which as far as, you don't do anything with that naming. It does that for you. And the numbers are automatic too. That's what I was saying. All these nodes are numbered. And if you didn't separate the different body parts with different letters, not to be confused with the naming of the mesh body parts, I'm talking about the J-beam body parts, so that when they're exported, they have separate letters to make them unique. Or everything would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can't have everything have the same thing, and you know that don't work. So we add a new flex body, and our new flex body is C, with capital C. As you can see, it is C. And we're going to give it the group C name. So now we come down to our nodes, and we save time by copying that to our clipboard, pasting it here, changing this to C, giving us more room. So we have more groups to add later. So we add these nodes. Let's leave a space. So we're going to make these have their own weight too. I'm just going to say 7 for the arm. Maybe 8. 8 kilos. I don't know what an arm weighs. His arm may weigh more. But if we made his torso weigh 22 kilos and his head weigh 3.7, well, that probably is about right. Or close enough. So now we come down to the beams. Now remember, we had 2 different places that we separated beams. We had beams for connecting the head to the shoulders, which was just support beams, which they break pretty easy. And then we also had the beams that connect the head to the body itself, like that act as the neck. Which actually, these are pretty much set the same. But the beams that are going to go to this arm that keep the arm together itself, we want to be pretty strong, so we're going to use these values. Just got a lot more beam spring and indestructible deform, and they won't break. Not to be confused with it breaking off the torso. That'd be put in one of these categories, so they can break here. So I'll put this here, and you're always welcome to always put a // and anything you put after the slash is just a note. The game ignores it. But you could just say this is left arm. You can do that if you want to. But I that's why I name my stuff in a way that I can know where right away what it is, because I just, that's A, B, C, D, E. Okay, well that's F. As I'm thinking of the body parts, it makes it easier for me than having to rely on these kind of notes. So now we add the collision triangles, and now if we save this and we load their level, we should have a one-armed man. Not the same one-armed man from what's that movie? There was a one-armed man in my room. Harrison Ford. I don't know. I want to say Wanted, but I know that ain't it. They only made 2 of them, 2 of those movies. Richard Kimball. I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. That was a great movie, man. Great movie. Look, he did. No arm just come right off. So we ain't connected it yet. We'll pause the game and reset. And it looks like our arm is not lined up for some reason. That arm looks like it's awfully low. What could have happened when that's weird. Collision triangle's correct, but the arm is wrong. The arm is not in the right place. It is too low for some reason. I don't know. See, I applied the origins, so I don't know. I can't tell you. But that is not where it's supposed to be. Let's sometimes reset the origin again. I don't know why it would not have. apply all transforms, re-export. Hopefully this will fix it. If it doesn't, I'm a loss for words. A loss. That is B. And make sure. Damn. Ah, shit. I might have. So I got two different folders now. But that did fix it, it looks like. I don't know how that. No, it didn't. Son of a gun. Son of a gun. Damn, how'd that happen? Couldn't tell you. I mean, the triangles are right. The mesh is not. That's the thing that's weird to me. Reset all the origins. Shouldn't matter though. Something's still off somewhere. See? See that down there? That tells you that something's off. One of them's off. That's probably the arm. No? Or maybe it's this. Something's off. I don't know how that happened. I'm usually pretty careful about setting my origins because I don't like things like that to happen. But that fixed it. See, I guess the arm was off somehow. You see what difference it makes when they're off. They don't line up right. Even if the J-beam lines up right, the arms are not. So we'll put it in super slow motion. The reason I do that is it makes it easier to pull apart or remove, like move rather, one of the limbs, so you can get it away far enough that you can say pause, hit Control N to see your nodes. Then you know how you're going to attach these better, because it's hard to read these when they're right directly on top of one another. See, you can imagine if this is butted up right next to that, these numbers are going to overlap. So our first connection will be BR25 to CR15. So we'll go into here, and now we'll do those like we did yesterday. We'll start making those connections. And here, once again, if you want to make yourself a mental note, that's fine. You can say left arm to torso, and then you know, okay. But I would know like B goes to A because that's the torso that I called B, and A's the head. So it's up to you how you do this. It's I guess you could say it's kind of friendly to do this for other people who you allow them to work on your mod or change your mod, and you give them, say, hey, yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. You know, these little notes help other people. I love the developer notes on like some of their stuff, like the Drowsy Sam car, the example car that comes with the J-beam editor. We ain't talked about that yet, not in this video or the last one. But anyway, they have great notes in there that explain things. CR15 to BR25. CR15. And remember, these will be using what is the first thing above it that's got things. You know what I'm saying? Whatever falls below this until another one is whatever it follows. So the next one's CR8 to BR19. CR8, BR19. Now, this is the extra step I took a while back when I started this. I said, well, let me bring these here closer together so I can have both of these connect to that node there. So that's what I meant by planning ahead, so that you got things you can, kind of get connected. You got to kind of plan ahead when you do these little, or you'll find that, like, crap, there's nowhere to connect anything that's close by. BR17. Alright. Alright. Let's get on out here. Reset. And we'll see how these are working. Control R. Home. And unpause. Pretty good under the circumstances. You see that little wobble up there? I'm not sure if those broke. So I'm going to reset. And I'm going to turn on the beam mode that shows broken beams, which is Control B, but I'm not sure how many times you have to press it to get where it actually shows the broke beams. Let's see if this will do it. Well, I'm thinking because the little letters up there are telling you which one's which, I'm thinking now it's on that mode. Well, I won't know until I break part of the head off and look at the beams and see, are they red? No, they're not yet. So just break something off and hit Control B until you see, I think it's 3 times you'll have to hit it. So when you first turn on the beams, which if they're off, it'd be like 1, 2, wait, it'll be like 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, or 4. I'm not sure. Do it until you know the damn thing's broken. You see that they're red. That means they're broke. That way when you reset it, you can examine it, see did they break or not. Up there. Which now they're still showing green. That one's pretty good there. That one's. So what you can do now, you can say, well, that's CR8 and that's BR19. CR8, BR19. I'm just gonna copy this and paste this here and delete it here so that I can inject another argument. Now this one, I'll illustrate pre-compression a little bit. So pre-compression is, like I said, slack or tightness of a rope. You can think of it like that. How tight a rope is pulled or how much slack is in it. Anything greater than 1.0 is adding slack. Anything less than 1.0 is making it tighter. But if you go less than 1, you need to put a 0 here and start it like 9.9, because it doesn't take much for this, because if this causes enough tightness that it exceeds the strength, then it's just going to break. So you may have to increase the beam's strength or not put as much pre-compression. And it may not help it. I've tried sometimes to do stuff like this and I just could not get it to do as good as I wanted it to. I think it is a little tighter, but let's just go to 0.96. Save, Control R, home. Yeah, maybe the spring needs to be stronger. But don't do too much spring. If you got too much spring and it's too light, it'll explode. That's too much spring. I'll just leave it. It's not that big a deal. I could sit here all day trying to tinker with this and probably never get it like I want it. It's not that big a deal. It's not too bad. Um, and we could duplicate it, make a second one in the exact same place. Not sure how that would behave. Well, who knows? Maybe it's good. He's shaking his head no. Well, now you can see too how it would be better if he come on camera. If his we can hide these nodes now. But you can see how it would bend more realistically if the arm was cut again and the hand was cut so that they could all independently flex. Say right now, he's limited to where you tell him his joints are. You know, if he ain't got but one joint up there at the shoulder, then move that arm, bro. I'm just hanging on by a thread, literally, or a beam. Heavy arm, ain't it? Well, he is heavy, isn't he? That's what they call him, heavy. Let's hide this stuff. Yeah, I don't think he's going to stand very good with just... he say, no, I'm not going to stand good with one arm. Somebody probably wondering, well, can you make him a driver? Like Crash Hard's dummy. Yeah, I haven't done that, but like once. Um, like I looked at Crash Hard's dummy, and they're really nice how he's got them kind of made. I'd noticed that it looked like to me that he actually made like reinforcements for the seats, because I guess these seats in here are not very, the J beams for them aren't probably very strong. And since we got his weight pretty accurately correct, he likely is going to cause problems in the car. He probably ended up having to be made light, very, very light, unrealistically light, so that he could be a driver. I think the first one of these, he's just going to be a dummy that'll stand up on his own that you can run into, and the little arms and feet and legs and whatnot will break off. And then later, possibly making one that'll fit in a car. I don't know if I'm going to get that far with this dummy. That is time consuming, because not only do you have to, you got to consider the J-beams for the dummy. I mean, he's got to be in a sitting position, right? Now I did with Jason Voorhees, I did not add the legs when I added him to a car. I just chopped him off, hit the torso and stuck his torso in the seat, and connected his arm, or his hand rather, to one of the nodes inside the vehicle. So I'm not sure which one. It'd probably be like whatever's in here close to the wheel. Well, probably this invisible one here that's out here and just floating. I'd probably connect that to something. maybe make a new node. It's like, there's none for this steering wheel. But anyway, yeah, then you'd have to connect him, anchor him to something inside the cab so that he stays relatively in the same place. So yeah, maybe, I don't know. I'm not gonna say for sure. I'll just get this thing made first, and then we'll go from there. So I think this will be today's video, adding an arm. I guess the next video I'll make the other arm and show you how you could do the other arm in two different pieces so that it'll hinge at the elbow. Just remember, if it's going to do something like this and hinge, when you cut this thing, you'll want to cut it so that the only way I can really explain it is like a G.I. Joe doll, one of these dolls that, like, the cut goes through here. Actually, you know what? I can show you better in Blender. I forget. Blender has a drawing tool. So what I would do is I would probably let the forearm go up to there, and then here, this part of the arm would be like this little piece, like this. So like the G.I. Joe toy, actually, like the little hinge would be like here, and that would go through, basically like an axis. But I'm not putting an axis in this. Instead, where these hinges are will be where I'll make sure that there's a node for the J-beam for this lower arm here. I'll make sure that there's a node here. I guess you can't have more than one color. I'll make sure there's a node here and here that connect to a node that's on the arm, this part of the arm on the other side, so that it'll hinge and swivel. But the reason for the cut is so that this kind of overlaps the arm, because if you didn't have that, then how else would you cut the arm? I mean, would you cut it straight across? Well, if you cut it straight across, then this bottom piece and the top piece, think about taking two glasses, like two cups, and turning one upside down on top of the other. Like if this is a cup here, and you got another one directly on top of that one, and this is touching this, how the hell is that going to bend? Hinge. It's not. It's going to look like two boxes hinging. It's going to look like the dummy I made of myself that Havoc NG loves to destroy on his videos. It's going to look like it's got rigor mortis. Rigor mortis. You don't want that. So this will be today's video. I'll not very good at drawing with a mouse. This will be today's video, and tomorrow I'll try to do the other video.